Welcome to another Book Talk with Tracy, coming to you from Tumbler Ridge. This is my home office, and this is the second segment talking about my books, my devotional series, Divine Appointments, daily devotionals based on God's calendar. So I did mention last time a little bit, very briefly about the book. We have 4 editions that correspond with the 4 seasons of the year. We have spring, we have summer, we have autumn, and we have winter. So too much for one book, but certainly if you want the complete volume, you can get that as an ebook. However, these books they do follow the Hebrew calendar or the Jewish calendar, and I highly recommend that if you are going to follow along, you should purchase or find one online so that you can start on the correct day, because of course it changes every year, similar to how Easter changes every year for those of us who follow a regular calendar. And also just because there's a lot of things, a lot of moving parts, if you will, within the Jewish calendar. For instance, one of the things that people find a little bit confusing, and this takes place in the winter edition, is that the Jewish calendar doesn't have a leap year to reconcile the solar year with the months the way that our calendar does. Instead, it has a leap month. So the month of Adar, which is the very last month of the year, which takes place in winter, is the 12th month. But every so often there are 2 months of Adar. And so for some people they're like, what, 13 months? How? That doesn't even make sense. But it does. And you'll follow along and you realize that there's a lot of care taken to make sure that the months reconcile with the solar year. And that's how they do it. So that's kind of one interesting change. The other thing is you'll find that some of the months, some years they'll have 29 days, some years they will have 30. And again, that just depends on the year, because according to Jewish tradition, they don't want certain holy days of the week or holy days to fall on certain days of the week. So there are some things that are different, but you know, it's very fascinating. And you might be wondering, well, why even bother, right? God did away with all those traditions. We don't need to follow that. Well, that is true. Jesus came and he has set us free from a burden of tradition. But I have found that it's actually really exciting and enlightening and even inspiring for me as a Christian to follow along with God's original plan, because he did. He made a plan. He set out certain months, certain festivals and holy days and things, and it is really very enriching for me, certainly as a Christian, to follow along. So it's not so that we'll take up a burden by any means or become legalistic, but it is just a way to enhance our faith and give you more insight. And I have really enjoyed my journey. In fact, I talk more about this in the introduction, the fact that it's not something that we need to take on as a burden, but that it actually can be very enriching. And so one of the things that I find fascinating is that each of the 12 months corresponds with a different one of the tribes. So as you may or may not know, there are 12 tribes. There were the 12 sons of Jacob. And it's, when you get into it, it's just amazing. For instance, the first month, which is called Nisan, is associated with the tribe of Judah. And we also find so many things, like the fact that Nisan means praise, and that Jesus was from the tribe of Judah, that praise always goes first. Oh my goodness, I could just go on and on. There's so much in here. Of course, Passover takes place in Nisan, which corresponds with Easter, and that was done. God knew what he was doing when Jesus died on the cross during Passover, because he was our lamb. So, I just really encourage you, if you are at all interested, pick up a copy. You can start with the spring edition. And in fact, spring is starting soon if you're watching this video for the first time when it was posted. And that would be a great place to start. But there all are 4 whole volumes which take you through the whole year. There's a little explanation about the day. There is something about the tribes. There's always, of course, something about each holy day or something that's significant. And then there's several Bible passages and a prayer at the end of each reading. So there are enough readings in these 4 books to take you through an entire year, which is really how it's supposed to be. And then you cycle back at the beginning of the year again. And I've found, as I've been sort of following this pattern of the Jewish months and learning, that every time I do it again, I learn more. So it's just really, really fascinating. And I would just really encourage you to get on board and check it out, see what it's all about. The book is called Divine Appointments, Daily Devotionals Based on God's Calendar. Now, you might be wondering, well, what does she know about it? She's not Jewish. And I'm not a theologian. I fully admit that. So what business do I have writing books like these and trying to tell others about it? Well, I'm going to get into that next time. We have one more segment. I like to keep these book talks short. So next time I'm going to tell you about how this whole thing came to be and my inspiration behind it. In the meantime, you can check out my website, which is tracykraus.com. Please, if you read any of my books, including these nonfiction books, I'm also a fiction author and a playwright, but anything, I sure appreciate it if you leave a review. So next time, we're going to talk a little bit more about the somewhat bizarre and strange occurrences that took place that led me to write this series. Until then, I'll see you. Bye.